Okay, so let's get right into it. It feels like every single week, there's another headline about some massive, multi-billion-dollar partnership in the world of AI. You know the names: Microsoft and OpenAI, Amazon and Anthropic. The numbers are just staggering. It's so easy to get lost in all the hype. But what is really going on behind these colossal deals?
It really all boils down to one central question, right? Why are these titans of tech suddenly shoveling billions upon billions of dollars into these partnerships? Is this just a mad dash to slap an AI label on everything? Is it all just buzz?
Well, the short answer is a hard no. This is not just hype. This isn't random speculation or some fleeting trend. There is a cold, hard economic logic driving every single one of these moves.
And here it is. This is the heart of the matter. What we're seeing is a completely rational race to control the one single resource that is now the bottleneck, the new oil: computational power. The sheer ability to train and run these massive AI models is everything. Honestly, the best way to think about this whole landscape is like a new gold rush. The AI labs, they're the prospectors, digging for digital gold. The big cloud providers, like Amazon and Microsoft, they're selling the picks and shovels. And the chip makers, like NVIDIA and AMD, well, they basically own the land itself. Everyone is scrambling to forge alliances to secure their claim.
So how are they staking that claim? It turns out there's a very clear playbook they're all following. These aren't just wild bets. These are calculated, strategic moves based on a handful of core economic drivers. Let's break that playbook down.
The playbook really has 6 core moves. Number 1, secure scarce capacity. We're talking about guaranteed access to thousands of top-tier GPUs. 2, control your costs. Custom silicon can slash your price per calculation, which is a huge deal at scale. 3, create competitive moats, basically digging trenches around your business so rivals can't get in. 4, share the insane financial risk, the capital expenditure or CapEx of building these city-sized data centers. 5, you've got to signal to the market that you are a major player. And finally, number 6, you absolutely have to diversify your supply chain so you're not dangerously dependent on any one company.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what's really fascinating is seeing how this playbook translates into actual real-world deals worth billions of dollars. Let's look at a few of the big ones. Let's start with the whale, the one that arguably kicked this entire gold rush into high gear, the partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI. And the number attached to it? Somewhere in the neighborhood of a mind-boggling $10 billion. So what was the give and get? Microsoft brought the cash, a lot of cash, and gave OpenAI access to its colossal Azure supercomputing infrastructure. What did Microsoft get in return? Oh, just the keys to the kingdom. Lead access to OpenAI's frontier models, an exclusive cloud deal, and the right to weave that tech directly into products like Copilot.
And this move is a masterclass in creating a competitive moat. By integrating OpenAI so deeply, Microsoft makes its Azure cloud practically indispensable for any company wanting to use the best models. This rockets up Azure revenue and creates what we call sticky customers. Once they're in your ecosystem, it's really hard for them to leave.
Of course, Microsoft's biggest rivals weren't just going to sit back and watch. So enter Amazon, with their own blockbuster deal with Anthropic, an investment of up to $4 billion. The setup here is similar on the surface. Amazon puts up the cash, and in exchange, Anthropic commits to making Amazon Web Services, or AWS, its main cloud provider. But here's the really clever twist. Anthropic also agreed to use Amazon's own custom-designed AI chips, known as Trainium and Inferentia.
The strategy here is just beautiful. It strengthens AWS's reputation in the AI space by making sure a top model runs on their cloud. For Anthropic, it gives them the scale they need and, crucially, a potential cost advantage from using that custom hardware. This is a perfect example of a capacity, distribution, and a margin play all rolled into one deal. But these deals aren't just between AI labs and cloud providers. You've got to look at the chip makers, too. Look at OpenAI's deal with AMD. See, to train these next-gen models, OpenAI needs an almost unbelievable number of GPUs. So they went to AMD and committed to a massive supply order, becoming a huge flagship customer. And in return, they get a vital second source for the hardware they are desperate for. So why is this so important? It's that diversification play. It's all about not putting all your eggs in one basket. By bringing AMD into the mix in a big way, OpenAI avoids being completely at the mercy of a single hardware supplier.
This lowers their risk profile and gives them way more power and leverage when it's time to negotiate prices.
Now, whenever you see billions of dollars changing hands this quickly, you can bet that professional analysts are watching very, very closely. These are high-stakes bets, and they come packed with serious risks. So let's put on our analyst hats for a moment and see what keeps the smart money up at night.
An analyst is looking at a checklist just like this one. They're watching customer concentration. Is a chip maker getting, say, more than half its revenue from a single buyer? That's a recipe for volatility. They're judging moat durability. Is a company's tech advantage actually going to last, or could a competitor leapfrog them in 6 months? Then there's geopolitical exposure. What happens if your one key chip factory is in a politically unstable region? And finally, capital intensity. Are these incredibly expensive data centers actually being used enough to generate a decent return on that massive investment?
So, to put it plainly, there are 5 big nightmares haunting these deals. First, concentration risk. The danger that your main partner suddenly stumbles. Second, the terror of technology obsolescence, where a new breakthrough makes your billions in hardware worthless overnight. Third, the potential for a brutal price war that just vaporizes everyone's profits. Fourth, regulatory hurdles, like new export controls that cut off your access to critical tech. And finally, simple execution risk, the sheer mind-bending difficulty of making all this stuff work together at a global scale.
So after all that, the playbook, the deals, the risks, what's the final verdict? If you had to boil it all down to a single takeaway for a portfolio manager with millions on the line, what would you tell them?
You tell them this. These partnerships are a completely rational response to a world where compute is now king. They have the potential to create incredibly powerful, long-lasting competitive advantages. But, and this is the crucial part, that potential is only realized if, and it's a huge if, the companies can lock in their capacity for the long term, make sure their business goals stay perfectly aligned, and flawlessly execute the impossibly complex job of integration.
And that leaves us all with the ultimate question as we watch this incredible story unfold. In this historic AI gold rush, we are seeing fortunes made and the foundations of new empires being laid. But the ground beneath everyone's feet is constantly shifting. So the real question is, who here is actually building a lasting empire, and who is just one new discovery away from becoming a ghost town?
Bye.